It's stressful to give a talk not in mathematics. All my life I've been giving talks in mathematics. And here I am, and I have 25 minutes. There are 50 bright people or more. Each person's time is valuable. How can I deliver this? In academia, we should think about serving other people. Actually, through service, curiosity, this is what gives joy to our profession. So if I just talk about myself, what I have done, what would you gain from this? It's a stressful task. So I should take the capital of all of you to help me help you. That's why static lectures is the time of the past. All information that your lecturers, your teachers give you, you have it on your phone. Why do you need them? Why do we need university then? Maybe university should change. Maybe the way we think, the way we serve in academia, in schools, should change. One of those changes is to be able to remove the shells that those of us who are in leadership positions have. The more experts we become, the more titles we have, professor, dean, director, the more difficult it is for us to actually receive the winds of change that come from the youngest ones, the most talented ones, the curious ones. First, these are our children, our small children. Then there are students in elementary school, students in high school, and university students. Part of the reason why the Bay Area has been so successful is because we embrace diversity. We embrace people who are different. We learn from them because they had different experience in lives. Some of their paths have been difficult because their differences were not recognized properly. And their talents could not have been received well because they were timid enough to share. But once you see enough people that are different than you are, then you're more open to accepting the difference. Most of the CEO in the Silicon Valley are foreign-born. So America has a problem with US-born entrepreneurs. But we welcome people of different walks of life. We welcome their viewpoints. We welcome their dissent. Most of the companies that are successful now, their CEOs struggled, and then they invited people who think differently to be their partners. Because we learn much more from those of us that dare to think differently. And as faculty, I learned, and I'm learning from students more than ever, because finally I was able to take my shelf off. And I'm no longer a professor, I'm just your friend. Actually, I am more limited than most of you are, because I already have a established way of thinking. This is what comes with experience, and that's clouding our views. So how do we become more open to our students? Well, first of all, one of the things we could do is to create an atmosphere where their voices are welcome, where they can interrupt us during the lecture, where they can say that I disagree with you. When their voices are heard, appreciated. And if we say that, well, we've been in academia for so long, so we know how things are, and this is the way it will go. We as administrators, as deans, as rectors, lose the opportunity to catch the wave of the change. So in the United States, I addressed my doctoral advisor by his first name. In 1980s, there was a crash of an airplane flying over Scotland. The pilot shut down the engine that he thought it was on fire, but he shut down the engine that wasn't. So the plane crashed. Half of the people died. Everybody outside of the cockpit knew that the pilot shut down the engine that was functioning. Nobody dared to tell him about that. After this disaster, I think it was a Delta flight, the management decided to change the policy that in a time of crisis, you addressed your leaders by their first name. The more senior we become, the more clouded our minds are, and we are more prone to errors, to not seeing the difference. Had they addressed the pilot, "John, this is not the right engine," in the right time, fewer people would have lost their lives. These examples happen all over different times in different scenarios. They happen in a medical area where doctors try to make sure that a patient doesn't die and follow a certain procedure. If they are stressed, their minds become clouded. Why am I talking about this? Because part of being a leader, living in the world of entrepreneurship, we will operate under stress. Sometimes if I have 100 or 200 students in front of me, of course it's stressful. And I can only pretend that it's not. Things can go wrong. And they do. Computers suddenly work 99% of the time. By the time you have your presentation, they don't. Then you have to, under stress, invent another way of proceeding. But that's when breakthroughs happen as well. Yesterday when we were talking with Lynn, she gave me a great example of new inventions that happen when unusual situations occur, such as disasters in the Caribbean. These are all opportunities. These are all opportunities. Of course, since I'm a professor, I have to leave you with a couple problems. And I would like to talk to you in parallel ways because you represent, if I like you to get something out of this, I cannot just have one path of a presentation. So I'll give you a couple paths. One is, if you can think of the answer to this question, in one of my calculus lectures, when I talked about discrete differences, so calculus analysis, I think they call it here, we talk about the function and their changes, and we first talk about discrete changes. And as these discrete changes happen over a shorter period of times, that's where we define a derivative. So in introduction, we try, in a pure area of mathematics, to bring things from real life. And I gave an example about the HIV development or spread of HIV as a function, and I asked for discrete derivatives, meaning basically the new cases over time. I provided in homework 2 columns, the pattern for men and the pattern for women. One student came up to me the next day, furious, telling me, "I was offended by your problem." Why was that student offended? Why was the student offended? And the person said, "You will understand it in 5 years." Yes, I understood it in 5 years. And in 5 years after, many universities, including Harvard, MIT, and others, on their applications no longer ask you for binary gender. The gender is not binary. The gender is a continuum between 0 and 1. And most of us are close to 0 or close to 1. But we're not 0 or 1. This person was offended because I did not include this person. Afterwards, I removed the problem, and I became much more cautious how I address to feel everybody welcome. It took 5 years for the universities to realize that we should be more cautious. And now in California, when we address students, we avoid gender-specific pronouns. Yes?
But it's more complicated because this wasn't the case in clinical trials and when they were looking for drugs. And now they are talking that women and men respond differently for the same drug. So then it is said that women are ignored and all medical treatment is centered on men. So the case, if you notice that there are men and women, or you not ignore, but you make no difference. It's not that easy.
It's not, I agree. And it's not going to be easy for a long period of time. Perhaps future ways how we will propose research would be more careful in terms of dividing people and how they report. I agree. I agree that this report that I got was what I had. But what it caused was that one of the students was not welcome. And I felt it personally, that that I failed, and I didn't see it. It took us many years to realize that. So one of the things that I'm learning from Silicon Valley is the power of inclusion and difference in most successful companies in academia. We speak many languages. In our department, there are probably about 10 languages that are spoken. The official language is bad English, because most of us actually, the English that I hear here from my fellow Poles is far superior than most of my colleagues and my students in America. I hope they won't get the link. I'd like to give you 2 more quick problems, and then I will have some pointers, hopefully for a discussion to follow. These 2 problems will represent also how our mind works under stress. So, the second problem is we have 8 balls, visually identical. We have a scale. One of the balls is heavier. How many measurements do we need to determine the one that is heavier? 8 balls, binary scale. 3. 2. Oh, is that a victory? That was 2. What's the most natural thing that comes to my mind if we have only 15 seconds to go? Complicated problem divided into smaller problems. That's what we've been trained by evolution, or maybe by universities as well. So 4 and 4, and then 2 and 2 and 1. So we have 3. But no, let's invent something. Let's start not with the seemingly optimal solution. Let's just leave 3 aside, and let's just compare 3 and 3. So seemingly, it's a distressful solution because we are not taking care of the other 3. But actually, it leads to an optimal solution. This problem, I let you solve it completely. It can be generalized. And unlike what we've been programmed, probably maybe by our computer science professors at times, that everything should be solved binary. We divide problem into 2 and then into 2. Binary tree, exponential tree, should be optimal. That problem illustrates that this is not the case. We actually divide the problem into ternary groups. 3, number 3. What's so special about number 3? Mathematicians love a number that's close to 3. It's their holy number. What's that? Pi or e. Which one is closer to calculus? Both of them are. Pi has to do with curves, with integrals. E has to do with derivatives. And e is the most natural number, as they say. So there's calculus behind it. When you look at your cell phone, there are usually 3 tabs, and how we access information is, I observe how Google changed their accessing information, and is, do you want this, that, or something else? Then you have a next level, this, that, or something else. So you have a ternary level. That's faster to get to the information that you want. And I challenge the most talented among us to try to prove it, that if you want to ask the fewest number of questions, then you should divide your questioning into groups of 3, not into groups of 2. But what do you do when the number is not divisible by 3? Here's one more problem. It's called a cheap necklace problem. You have 4 links, 3, 3, and 3, and you need to create the chain like this. But it costs you money to do that. When you open a link, you have to pay 2 cents. When you close it, you have to pay 3 cents. This problem is given to talented people in Silicon Valley as one of their interview problems, and they have 5 minutes. And we watch how they operate under stress. If I give you 5 minutes, you probably will embarrass me because I was not able to solve that problem with all my degrees. And I was repeating the solution that would be most natural. Okay, you have 3, 3, and 3, so you connect 3 and 3, you get 6, then you get 6, then you put together, you build a house the way our ancestor told us to do. The thing is that the challenges of today's world that I see in Silicon Valley, and you probably see it here, they accelerated that our natural things that we learn because of evolution, because of how we were taught, are no longer useful. We need to create new solutions that surpass the pace of evolution. So here, one approach would be in distress not to follow what seems to be natural, to build pieces together and together. Actually, just disregard one of the 4 chains and just think about these 3 and use the one disregarded as binding blocks. That way, you would be able to build your necklace for 15 cents. And then your company will win the competition. Not the ones that actually followed the usual building blocks of building the house by putting pieces together to get a big piece. So in today's world, we not necessarily are building the house from the foundations up. These problems illustrate a lot how successful CEOs work in Silicon Valley companies. And I learned a lot of that actually on the plane 2 nights ago when I was flying from San Francisco, when I bought this book, Unsafe Thinking. And I left the link in the slides. There is science, there's serious science now, how breakthroughs happen, how cultures of Silicon Valley have changed and evolved. It's far beyond what Apple did 15 years ago when they just broke walls in the offices because the offices were confining creativity of people. They were preventing exchanges of ideas. It's much more than that now. So I encourage you to take a look at it, and I think for 50 Polish zlotys you can actually get an ebook. It's a great reading. Just to give an advertisement of what I learned is things, for example, what happened to that pilot, why the airlines changed the policy that we address people by their first name. Imagine that in, let's say, Polish structure where you go to your dean and you say, today will be a day that actually I'm going to call you Tomasz or Władziu. Would they probably no longer be that comfortable, and many of them will miss an opportunity to grow, to listen to you. Try with some of them. If 1 or 2 of them actually will listen to you, that person might change, and they may change the whole university later, because that person might become a new leader that listens. Also, I learned that when we have our shelves, it's so tempting for us to see things so clearly that we become blind. We become blind to see new phenomena in industry, new phenomena in academia. When we have more blocks, when our knowledge has already compartments, shelves, we see a new phenomena, and as experts, we quickly categorize it as something that we already know, that we put it in one of the shelves in our mind that we have, and we miss another opportunity. That's why a lot of inventions in Silicon Valley and in the world happen when actually a person who is expert in one idea goes to another area. They're cross-disciplinary mix. Mathematicians working with psychologists, biologists, and so forth. And a lot of inventions happen when they stem from the intrinsic desire not to make money, not to be successful, but a natural desire to serving others and taking this as an opportunity to serve, as Gandhi tried. I initially prepared a lecture to talk about my journey, but I can tell you later over coffee. I'll just give a couple points. I thought that what I learned over the last 2 days was more interesting, and that's why my presentation is so disorganized. But I thought that we could learn and we could see how we can make changes around us by actually trying to break the schemes, trying to be at the same level as people that we serve. Then we are open to listening. How did I start it? You see my mom and my dad in '67, around here, somewhere in Wrocław. They said there was something better than Tinder at that time. Something that worked faster. It was an old Polish disco. Because what you do is, with Tinder, you have to use a finger, and it takes you 2 seconds to discard or actually narrow down your choices. Where when you have a disco and you have a traditional setup where boys in electrical department are on one side standing like this, and girls who are, or women who are future academics or future teachers stand on the other side, wow, you can do a mismatch in microsecond. You just look at it like that, and your primitive biology works, and there's a match much faster than Tinder. It worked. It worked at that time. They said I was planned. Later they said, once I able to do some mathematics, that I was planned, but much later in life. Eventually I was planned. It was difficult, not being married in academia in a small town. But when I was 3 years old, they noticed that I was curious, and I would not let go unless I would be able to solve things like understand why is it that we just add up numbers to 10? Why not to 9? What's so special about number 10? Later I realized that there's nothing special other than that we have 10 fingers. And we might as well, other species that exist, other intelligent species that exist, and in your lifetime you will actually probably be able to prove it. I don't know if my lifetime. Probably they will add up to pi, or another magic number. I am actually quite emotional about your presence here, because my life started as a rebellious boy in an elementary school that disobeyed their teachers but loved competitions, loved friendly competitions. They gave me fuel. They gave me curiosity to spend the night and read a book in mathematics from high school. My dad would actually close the light at 8 o'clock, and I was so curious how the proof goes that I would go to the bathroom pretending that I needed a bathroom, and I read there for 2 more hours. But I was an outcast in elementary school. I'd rather played with girls. It was difficult. It was difficult. I suffered. Until I went to gymnasium here, third gymnasium. And I was privileged to be part of a class that not only me, but everybody was rebellious. We would not listen to our teachers. But the most valuable thing that I took from Poland, other than my parental early stimulation, was that I was in a class that the teachers let us be, let us talk to one another. They saw a cohort of curious young individuals who were learning from one another. And the friendly competition, and the fact that I was able to talk about astronomy, I was able to disagree with my teacher, which at that time, and probably now, is maybe not that common, fueled us for curiosity to think differently. That helped. That helped a lot in the United States. I became a mathematician. Who is a mathematician? Who is a mathematician? What does this person do? What's the person's technology? A pencil. A pencil. There's a lot of technology in that pencil, right? Well, now there are computers. A mathematician seems to be useless to many people. And that's our fault. Why is it our fault? Because most of us do not have communication skills. Most of us, in my profession, we don't know how to explain what we're doing. We overcomplicate problems. And as you heard in yesterday's talk, that part of the success is to be able to communicate and listen to your clients. Why is it then that in the Silicon Valley, mathematicians are most valued now, and they're most desired to be hired, although there are no jobs called mathematician? Those that are able to communicate can be hired because they are problem solvers. They are problem solvers for problems for which there are no textbooks. And most of the problems that Facebook faces today, Google faces today, Musk faces with Tesla, and many other companies, there are no solutions. You have to address a problem. You have to solve it. The way mathematicians, and not only mathematicians, but scientists in general, attack a problem is that they need some confidence, some a space where they could be creative. They should have pressure, but sometimes they should not expect to deliver concrete results within days. They talk to one another, and then when you observe mathematicians at the conference, or physicists, suddenly they go and start hiking, or play tennis, or do something else that's organized, but has nothing to do with mathematics. I thought we were an outcasts, until I read from the book that actually the most recent research in the most successful companies states that this is the most efficient way to innovate. To have a small group of people that intensively think about a problem, are creative, you bring people from different disciplines, bring people who are different than you, because you're going to learn much more if somebody has a different viewpoint, however seemingly that viewpoint may actually seem stupid to you. Interject, and then break, and then do something else. Let the subconscious mind work. A lot of breakthroughs happen like that. Gmail happens like that. Google Maps happen like that. So as we study basic science, we actually get these tools for us to be able to be successful in the future. What might be missing in many of in our education is the ability to listen to your client, the ability, as we heard yesterday, to listen to the needs of another colleague. If we know better that something cannot be done, and you're not willing to listen to somebody because you tried something and it didn't work, you are missing an opportunity to learn another solution. I'd like to talk more about coffee, after coffee, about various problems, but I do have to just show you for 1 second the online calculus that I developed for students worldwide. And this was a culmination of my passion in early childhood. I loved traveling. I loved not spending time in one place. I liked doing videos. I loved nature. I loved teaching and mathematics. How do you combine that and you want to leave your workplace? You don't want to go to work every day. So I started teaching calculus, because this is what we had to do at the State University, over and over again. And it was not inspiring me. It was boring. The same thing. Calculus doesn't change. Well, so how could we make it more interesting? I thought, okay, I'm going to just record the video and just give it to the students and let them just watch it online. Because if the lecture is just a transfer of information, then I'll have it on the video and that's it. So goes 300 years of the expertise that even Nobel Prize winners had teaching physics, even at Harvard, the same way by lecturing and lecturing. Until about 20 years ago, where we realized that actually we should do serious science, and whether just transferring knowledge directly is the efficient way to teach the new generation of students. Because we, as faculty, thought that all people on the other end think the same way, and they will be curious enough to just listen to our beautiful exposition. Nothing is further from the truth now. So in most universities in the United States, there is a strong trend that lectures should be replaced with interactive events, with student-centered activities, and they should be minimal. So I thought, okay, well, why don't I just have a lecture, video lecture, and I will give it to the students and let's see what works. Students stopped showing in the lecture, and I was failing. I was getting bad evaluations, and one professor said, look, you're going to just record your lectures, and then they will fire you because you will have the mathematics, they won't need you. That was the mentality of some administrators that, okay, when you do the videos, you're gone, cheaper, great. So many of my colleagues told me, no, you don't do that, because our job is at risk. But then I realized that actually building a platform for students to learn has nothing to do with just the video. You have to have whole components. It didn't work until Facebook came along, and the new generation of students came along, the ones that had facility of interacting with others online. So if you combine a short lecture with a great environment where students are welcome to present their viewpoints, then you have a synergetic two items that together form a platform from which they can learn. And how did I learn about the importance of this exchange on a social forum? I learned it by being here in Poland when I saw how important it was when a professor gave us a list of problems and we would sit in one of the dormitories until 3 o'clock, and as a group we would solve the problems. We would be together by separately. And then if we've had a problem, we would run it by one another. And this was the learning at its best that I learned here. And then I combined that with the new mechanism for bringing these people from other different rooms in dormitory that could be now in different countries around the world and make them talk to one another. And that helped me develop online calculus. What I'm dreaming now is that this online calculus would be a living textbook, that would be a living organism, that as you learn, as you click, it molds to your own needs. It learns, it has AI, it learns from you how to serve you better. And if you can help me with that, I'd like to talk, I'd like to brainstorm, I'd like to be challenged. So now there's the most interesting part, and the part that I will enjoy the most. You will now see a few of us that will change the world, because they will be crazy enough to do that and they will succeed. That's the new generation, our future. So I'm actually honored, I didn't know about this honor, to present a particular recognition to not everybody. To those that actually competed among, I hear, thousands of students, right? And they are here. And it's my greatest honor that I didn't even know that I would have it. If I mispronounce your name, you have to forgive me. I already got an accent, so. So I'd like to present diplomas for finishing a great challenge, a programming challenge that was Moon Expedition. And this is in relationship to this conference and the bridge between Poland and America. The first person would be Adrian Binkowski. Congratulations. The second person would be Dominika Gawlaka. Dominique, congratulations.
Yeah.
So, since I asked you before, why are you here?
Thanks, Elenu, because they can this I don't know what to say.
So you're under stress. Then it's good. You can be creative now. I'll help you. Were you interested in the project? Then why did you compete? You wanted to win.
And I like it.
That's right. No, he didn't want to win. He just won as a byproduct. He liked it. He enjoyed it. He was curious. That's what drives the change. That's what will help you help to change the world for more efficient, better, maybe cleaner. There will be so many math problems. For the first time, mathematics is not fast-forwarding the future. It used to be that mathematicians created things 100 years that wouldn't be used, like Lobachevsky's geometry until now. Now mathematics, for the first time, lags behind. There's a new area like data science, where mathematics is in its infancy. So the world will need you. Congratulations, Dominic.
Thank you.
The next person is Karol Janica. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Why are you here?
Because I love math, IT, and if I doing examples, I have fun.
You enjoy it. And what's your platform? What's your environment in programming?
C++.
C++. Traditional, but very important, yes. C++ is still current. It's been like 40 years, I think, and we still use it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mateusz Garncarczyk. Do you two like being here?
Yes,
Why?
because I like programming, and that's it.
And what would you like to, what's your next project? Now we are in the moon, but it's just the moon, right? Maybe you're on the dark side.
Maybe explore the dark side.
To explore the dark side, yes. Pink Floyd tried it. Congratulations. Paulina Zielniak. Radosław Girul. Pardon me? He was yesterday. Okay. Victoria Wojtas. What's your environment? Do you program as well?
Yes,
What language?
C++.
C++. And why did you decide to take part in the competition?
Because I love programming and I want to do it in the future.
Have you thought about a big problem, a dream problem that you like to solve?
No, no.
Okay, so tomorrow you tell me.
Maybe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wojciech Bednarz. Not present. Wojciech Będkowski. And why did you win? Dlaczego udało ci się wygrać?
Because
I will translate. What language did you program in?
I programming in SQL.
SQL.
Yes.
That means some kind of database?
Yes.
Did you combine it with something else or just pure SQL?
Combined with other.
Would you know the word? Maybe I heard about it. Python, PHP, or?
Python.
Python. And C++. So you actually build like a server-side combination of things that. Okay. Okay. Sell yourself high. Congratulations, Wojciech. So we have 3 more, but I think some of our winners are not here. Should I? So they're here. They're here. And to make sure that we have new talent, sometimes new talent needs some guidance. Once we know that they're on their own path, the best guidance that we can give is just let them be creative. But sometimes we need to offer the first hand. And that's why it's very important to recognize my colleagues who made that happen. It's a lot of work, and it's difficult work at times because you don't want to help too much to actually discourage people. You want to let them explore and only give enough help so that they can bring the best out of themselves. And it's my honor to recognize my colleagues, Seweryn Gonerski, Krzysztof Marszałek. Congratulations, sir. Teresa Wyrostek, not present. So I'm very proud that we do have young women here, and I think you guys, all guys, should actually mention how cool it is to your friend girls that actually they are needed here. They're needed as much as you are, so that the future we would have as many young ladies, as many young men, as many young persons, right? Sure. So I'd like to, I really will enjoy more conversations with you, and I'd like to blame you for changing my talk, because I had very interesting conversations last night, and I listened to things that you talked about from the perspective of local barriers that you have. And I think that once many of you have been to Berkeley, Stanford, and you saw that things are solved sometimes more differently, there are different challenges, you bring that energy here, and it's possible to change, but it's not easy. It's not easy, and we recognize this, and the most difficult changes usually happen on the very top, because it's the hardest to let people who decide on the very top be open-minded. But that's a challenge, and there are ways to do that. That book actually talks about it, how. So, thank you very much. Let's have some fun.